Under the hot sun, a vast desert is the scene of a huge fight. Some desert warriors with crude spears and swords face one enemy who stabs a warrior in the neck to kill him instantly, proving he's a monster as his ragged breath and his foe's screams show this isn't his first kill. How could he keep going for so long without stopping? As they watch him stumble and shake from exhaustion, they close in to deliver the final blow. A man's heart feels like it's about to burst. Every time he breathes out, a sharp sting hits him and his gums throb from the sudden chill. He can't even tell if the liquid dripping from him is blood or sweat. As the warriors charge him, every sense screams that this isn't just a fake effect. As he screams and fells another warrior, hidden powers surge within him while his foes charge forward. Even though he hates believing it, this is the truth. Once upon a time, he played lots of games, but he never really became the best at any of them. He didn't live a wise life. While everyone else worked hard on weekdays, he played games instead. After quitting his job a few months ago, he locked himself away in his apartment and lived like a hermit. That day, he realized he had been doing this even before he quit, which meant he was now in his 5th year. He poured 5 years of his life into one game and his story became a legend, but not the kind anyone wants to hear. 5 years ago, the developer pushed the game Pangenia with the promise that finishing it would grant a dream, but even players with endless free time eventually gave up after failing to clear it. 5 years went by with millions trying but none winning, so the player count fell until if he doesn't log in, the game shows no one online. Pangenia launched with a cruel reputation for being brutally hard to beat. It had a boss that made you wonder if anything could ever be cleared, a friend who would betray you without warning, and named enemies that would hunt you down just for having a bounty on your head. The scariest part is that if the character dies, they vanish forever and the whole game has to start over, which is just crazy. Because it was so hard to do, its short-lived fame vanished in an instant. By now he was sure someone was actively stopping the players from finishing the game. He had 8 out of 15 special items in his bag, yet he still failed and lost 5 whole years of his life for nothing. Even if his character disappears, he still gets a massive 1.6 million soul points that usually drop when someone dies. He likely earns a lot thanks to those special items, since his hundreds of characters so far have only managed to give him a total of 80,000. This game uses a special points system where you earn points based on how valuable your fallen hero was. You can spend SP when making a new character, and the more you spend, the slower and smoother their growth becomes. He once poured 10,000 into sword training to create a character who died with the title Grandmaster of Swordsmanship. He has nearly 2 million to spend, which is way more than the 10,000 limit, so he can basically buy whatever he wants. Usually he would focus on his magic talent to keep things steady. But he just clicks randomly because he knows he'll never win. This is his one and only chance to truly savor it before he throws it away forever. Just before he moves on, a memory from the past suddenly flashes in his mind. One day, his girlfriend showed up to see him. She sat him down, telling him that while he was a kind man, she couldn't build a future with someone who didn't have one. She has reached the age where she must start thinking about getting married. He stood there speechless, unable to find a single word to say. She kept walking, noticing that all her friends were dating or marrying men from big famous companies, but not him. Before she could finish, she glanced at him, who was staring down in defeat. She couldn't stand seeing him look so broken, so she turned and walked away right then, praying he'd find a better life out there. But she truly didn't mean those words. 3 months ago, the girl he had been dating for 5 years finally broke up with him, and he was too scared to slap her. Once she was gone, he threw his pointless job away in a fit of rage and locked himself inside his room just like this. His mouse hovers over the random button, realizing the situation is too pathetic, so he clicks it, and while thousands of messages flood the screen from his sudden skill boost, one special message stands out as a secret has finally been unlocked. The game cheers him on as he completes the final challenge and earns a spot in Pangenia, leaving him to wonder if he's ever seen a message quite like this before. Suddenly, a burning weight crashes into his chest while a furious voice screams in his mind, wishing every world he ever made turned to ash for being a cruel god, and he grips his head in panic, trying to understand what he is hearing. But suddenly he falls, and a message jumps out at him on the screen. It shines brighter than light, hides darker than darkness, and swirls through the endless dance of creation and destruction. May he find a home in the land of Pangenia. Suddenly, a man wakes to feel a whip on his back while another man orders him to stand up right now. He turns around, realizing that if he falls one more time, the hydrogen monster will have its meal. The man remembered hearing about this place before, and as he looked around, he saw other people in chains just like him while others whipped them with cruel lashes. Finally, he spots a huge monster up front with many heads. He starts shaking from terror, but the slaver lashes him again and shouts that he must line up or he'll choke him out with this damn whip. Having no choice but to go, the man trudges alongside the other slaves under the hot sun. He knows Hydreigon is a monster from Pangenia, and this place feels strangely familiar to him. Curious, he checks the status window and sees a pop-up revealing his stats, talents, and hidden traits. He slowly realizes he has actually found his way into Pangenia. This isn't fake, it's a real status window right here. But then how can his stats reach 12 when they are supposed to stay between 1 and 10 based on the points we spend? Before he could check his stats, the ground suddenly shook as hundreds of men appeared, shocking the slavers who finally realized what was happening. They quickly realize the horde belongs to the Desert Queen, who has shattered the peace treaty and launched an attack, so they must gear up for war. The overseers warn the slaves to stay awake all the time, because even a moment of daydreaming could cost them their lives. The man recognizes the name but has no time to dwell on it, because a system warning instantly pops up telling him a main quest has been created. It's just called Survive, and your reward depends on what happens, because failing means he dies both inside the game and in real life. He doesn't even understand what's happening until hundreds of arrows rain down from the sky, slowly killing everyone around him. With blood running down his skin, his mind begins to twist into a knot of pure terror. But while the iron-blooded king's hidden trait awakens, it only blooms once every physical talent has reached its peak. It keeps you from getting tired, stops you from being surprised, and helps you understand what's happening. He realizes that surrounded by so much death, the only way to live is to keep moving. He snatches up a sword and quickly cuts through his restraints. Just as a desert warrior lunges at him, he snatches the very sword he used to free himself and swings it in return. Even without holding a sword before, he rushes in and lands a hit that totally surprises his opponent. That's because his secret power, the Weapon Master, has awakened, letting him wield any blade with amazing skill. 3 more fighters rush toward him. The first guy shouts insults at the man while holding a spear, but the man quickly chops the spear's tip right off and cuts him in half with a single swipe. As he snatches the weapon from the air, he believes he can act like a master even though it's his first time, and he proves it by throwing the spear straight at the second man. As the third warrior swings his mighty axe to charge, the man sidesteps just in time, reading the blade's path so perfectly that he can easily deflect the attack. He can clearly see the road ahead and exactly where he needs to go. He drives his sword into the warrior and then grabs his axe to beat him. His breath is getting ragged from all the hard work he just did. The other warriors stand amazed and terrified, realizing their injured expedition could not have fought without his secret gift that lets his sword and spear skills jump instantly to 6. He believes the peak skill level is 10, and since he's already at 6, he should wield powers like a legendary knight, leaving him to wonder how such traits can be so mighty. Even the fact that he could survive so long at such a low level would not have been possible without his hidden trait, but even that miracle will sadly not last forever. With over 500 soldiers blocking his path, he's got to find a way to survive, even though this whole quest feels like a total mess. Before everything else, the leader of the desert city of Fizzleair asked the Snake Princess if the trip to the demon world had really failed. She gave the go-ahead, and the leader warned that if anyone learns their city skipped the expedition, the central continent will blame them, so they had to stop it at all costs. She commanded the Snake Princess to head out to the Coltsman Desert and wipe out the last members of the lost expedition. They have to wipe out every clue that could show Fizzleair never sent troops or link him to the expedition's failure. She promised that if she did this job right, the curse on her would vanish. The Snake Princess twitched and agreed when she heard that. That explains why she brought so many men and why she is so determined. A warrior approaches her, making her think the fight is over, only to reveal one slave still holding on, while hundreds of his fallen comrades lie dead on the hot sand. He was about to collapse from exhaustion, but leveling up suddenly restored his mana, health and energy, saving him from defeat. As the warriors ready to charge, the princess shouts for them to move aside while she gallops forward on her beast. The man waited for Isabelle Vondian to show up, checked her profile and saw only that she was level 8, while the rest of her details remained hidden from him. He knows he can never beat a level 8, no matter how hard he tries, because here the line between the weak and strong is drawn at level 7. From that moment on, the real gap starts to show and it's almost impossible to close. Reaching level 8 means they are nearly the strongest beings on every continent, effectively acting as the top bosses of any famous group. Facing her right now feels like stumbling into a total disaster in an RPG. But then something catches his eye. The system tells her she can't leave this area because of a sickness she got from the Desert Queen. As he reads that, Isabella steps down to his level, tells him he put on quite a show, but notes that he must die now. The man believes he played Penginia, a game everyone hated for being too hard, because he always finds a way to beat even the toughest challenges. He was a strange fish in a pond full of strange ones, and if his hunch holds up, he might just walk free. As Isabella rushes forward with her weapon pointed right at his neck, he just smiles and asks if she wants to lift the queen's curse. She halts instantly, her blade burning with energy. She steps right up to his face, stares him straight in the eyes, and won't take no for an answer about who he is. The man says he reads the stars to guide others, and as a star-bearer he can break the queen's curse so she can finally leave the desert. Isabella is so shocked she looks down, fooling the man into thinking it worked. The star-bearer is a special character you can only reach by going beyond the game's highest level. The class works only for ordinary people, so he isn't a true star-bearer, yet the queen needs a star-bearer's blessing to lift the curse that plagues her. Because Isabella wants to break the curse, she has to listen to him. He was sure she'd want to break the Queen's curse because it was that easy to see why. The Queen's curse keeps you stuck near the start of the map, but you must travel the whole world to see the ending, even though the cursed girl remains tied down in one spot. Isabella asked the man for his name, and when he told her it was Randolph, she wrote it down. They stare at each other for a whole minute until she decides to wait before killing him. But if she catches him lying, she will end his life right then. As she walks away, she asks the warriors to take him with her. Since he's an honored guest, they'll treat him with care. With the first big mission, Survival, finished and scores that no one has ever beaten, luck itself seems to be on his side, making his rewards even better. The battle constellation showed he wasn't all bad, and by upgrading his reward once more, he got the broken piece of the ancient scale, the soul of Hydreigon, and Michaela's sword. Randolph collapses under the weight of it all, too drained to stand, yet he somehow finds a way to keep breathing. At night, while taking a bath in the castle, Randolph checks his stats and sees what he has earned. The legendary Hydreigon is notorious for dropping its soul just once in all of game history, while the early game must-have, the sword of Michaela, is another surprising prize that players never see coming. This broken chunk of the golden scale is strange because it lets reality sync with Pangea, and he can flip it on and off at will. He could think. 3 maids rushed in and begged him to let them bathe him, but Randolph points out that they can just wash their feet, knowing it's a test. They are Isabella's personal helpers who take care of her room. If he reacts to them, she'll suspect him, since the Starbearer is supposed to feel nothing, so he forces himself to stay calm, but can't help peeking where he shouldn't. He quickly clicks open the status window to take his mind off things, and it works, because suddenly he's looking at something else. And as the world of Pangea begins to crumble and its very edge tears through into reality, a piece of that destruction is already lost. As he reads that a crack will form once the system breaks down by more than 10%, he learns that the Hall of Fame is now open and his name has been added to it thanks to his top survival quest ranking, which also unlocks his ability to leave, but leaves him vulnerable to danger. His face stretches wide as he reads everything, leaving the chambermaids puzzled because he seems to think this can't possibly be happening. Gracia and I, who share a love for mint chocolate and played the game with him, are actually 2 people who were summoned to this world just like him, not someone who quit or disappeared. And that logout button was exactly what he had been hoping to find. He can finally put down this cursed game and walk away. He asks the chambermaids to leave so he can talk to the stars, but they refuse because the princess told them to take care of him. Randolph warns them that if he stops listening to the stars, he loses his powers, so they must go ask the princess if she wants him to go on. He told them to go, saying he'd visit the princess later. As the doors shut, he feels a huge relief that his cheap trick finally fooled them. He feared he'd be trapped here in this deadly place forever. But finally, he breaks free from this silly game. Just as he signs off, the screen flashes a warning: if his character dies in the game, he will die in real life. As he opens his eyes, he finds the world unchanged except that his city is burning and strange beasts have appeared. He looks out the window to see a giant creature right below him letting out a loud roar as it stares up with its mouth wide open. He had seen this beast before. It is a beast from the faraway land of Pangea, but who knows why it has wandered all the way here. From his pocket, he tosses down the golden reward that somehow came back with him. But just as Randolph stepped back into the real world, all his recent adventures were pulled into his own body, and he opened his eyes in his bedroom. He figured he must have finally dozed off after hours of gaming, convinced this wasn't some wild web novel plot on the Mioa channel. That's when he spotted a big pouch, probably full of coins, and a single gold coin sitting on his desk. He picked up the golden piece, wondering if it had always been there, but he couldn't remember owning something like it before. He slipped the piece into his pocket and headed to check the game, only to find the web page gone, as if it had never existed at all. Before he could even process what had just happened, screams erupted from outside, and when he looked out his window, the view was a nightmare of destruction and death left by the game's beasts. The police were doing everything they could and calling for more help, even the military, because the bullets just weren't stopping the enemy. That was the moment he understood what had happened, and let the gold coin slip from his hand. He wonders if the line between reality and Pangea has snapped open. But most of all, what does he do? As he pulls back, his hand slips and brushes against the golden piece. He wonders if the monsters running loose in the real world mean the special items he found in the game might work here too. He opened the pouch, only to find it held not coins, but Michaela's sword and the soul of Hydreigon. He grabs the soul and wonders how to use it. That's when he remembers what he once read. Most specifically, the line at the end is where you can use it at the Golden Scale shop. There is no way for him to actually fight those beasts. But the game's him is different. He lights up his soul and locks himself with Randolph for a full day. Outside, fire and smoke cover the ruined ground, but a mother drags her child through the chaos, desperate to reach safety. And as the little girl asks where her dad is, a pile of concrete drops from above and crashes right on them. Luckily, the mother had just enough time to get her child out of the danger. But she took the full hit of the falling concrete while her daughter fled, and an office worker rushed over to ask if she was okay. The mother tells her to grab the child and leave right away. When she realizes the woman is in serious trouble, the office worker says sorry and vows to keep her safe. That's when hungry beasts suddenly leap out from behind her and snap their jaws wide open. As the office worker wonders if this is how she's going to die, a figure crashes into the beast, chopping its head off in a heartbeat before slicing it apart. The woman in the office dropped to her knees, stunned that she'd actually made it through. But who is this mysterious man? As he stares at them, she spots another monster approaching from behind and screams a warning, only for a completely different beast to kill it, leaving the woman even more terrified. She stares in total confusion at the monster before her, a fire-breathing dragon with 9 heads. Randolph tells her to stay still, which makes the woman wonder if she is dreaming. The child pulls away from her hold and runs straight to her mother. While others rush in to help, the woman in the office just stands there. Instead, he decided to just watch while the man and his beast cleaned up the last of the monsters. When the monsters appeared and tore across the whole world, they hunted down people and wiped out human civilization instantly. But they weren't the only surprise, for along with them came warriors who slashed the monsters apart and couldn't be hurt by bullets. As more people stepped up to protect the innocent, the world began to change fast. A man watches everything with growing frustration as his friends foolishly waste the broken pieces of the order scale. It's finally true, reality and Pangenia are starting to blend together, which is nothing short of a massacre with another player in the mix. He believes the two worlds will eventually blend into one, and in this coming age of chaos, everyone is a rival where only those who gather the most pieces and power will rise to become the true heroes of the story. The list that hadn't changed in 2 years has finally been refreshed, and the highest score is an unbelievable 220 points. He wonders if Randolph is really one of the Phantom, called Ghost because no one knows his real name, led the very first NPC quest to the Demon Realm and was the lone survivor to reach it right before the game ended. Even though his expedition ended in total failure, he was still the undisputed #1 player of Pangenia. Since his strongest power only woke up when he died, he must have been pulled into Pangenia the second their mission failed. Though he starts fresh with his look and gear, his past skills stay with him, giving him a huge lead. As Randolph returns to the game, he realizes that monsters have burst into the real world, bringing players with them who now look just like their characters from Pangenia. But the scene before him is starting to make sense. With one final character left to play, he was almost ready to finish the game and set off on his adventure into the Demon Realm. But the paid soldiers in his army blocked his way, and even his loyal friends turned against him. No matter how many possibilities he considered, their interference always took him by surprise. But what if every single one of those troublemakers was actually a player brought in just like him? Some players didn't want the ending to happen, and others saw him as a rival, so they targeted him back then, and they might still be trying to do the same. Now that the line between the real world and the game has vanished, he can't just log off and hide. He needs to get strong fast to stay safe in both places. He walks into Isabella's room, and when she asks if he's done talking to the stars, he nods and says yes. He's finally arrived to honor his promise, but only if one small thing happens first. She sends her maids away to keep her secret safe. Randolph wants to head to the sanctuary, leaving Isabella to wonder if he's lost his mind. It turns out the second main quest is all about getting a specific class that you can only find by doing it. A short time later, under the same moon, Isabella strolls through the dark dungeon after easily taking out the guard. Randolph is amazed that it took her just a few minutes, and she's the most trustworthy ally you could ever find. A few hours earlier, when he told her about the special star at the sanctuary, she was confused because she never thought they would find such a thing in that place. Randolph stumbled upon the 4th star while playing with his last character, and he's likely the only one who knows exactly where it is. He explained to Isabella that the stars would lift her curse only if he could find the star. Isabella made it clear that the sanctuary isn't a place you can just walk into and claim as your own, because if anyone finds out she secretly let someone else in, it's game over. Randolph urged her to move fast, telling her there was no time to think or hesitate because this was her final shot to escape this dry wasteland. If he hadn't convinced her to come back, the thing rolling on the ground right now would have been his own head, but luckily that didn't happen. He whispers that they have finally made it there. This is the sacred place he spoke of, or at the very least the steps that lead up to it. As they step inside, the system recognizes that he has reached the secret desert haven and promises rewards for every corner he explores. The system warns him that his level of 8 is still too low. This place is drowning in poison and dark energy, and he must rush in now before his resistance fails. Luckily, his secret power to resist the giant's evil lets him walk through a place where a level 2 could never survive, and if he sends Isabella in first to finish the small quest, he'll still get a nice reward. But the side quest doesn't matter right now, because this is the moment he can complete the second main quest and finally get the class he's been dying to have. Uev watches the path ahead, noticing the wind pushing past the row of pillars that stretch out before them. She holds back a laugh, spins around, and realizes they're clearly on the wrong path. But Randolph grabs her and asks where she's going. Isabella warns that the bridge ahead is a deadly trap, where strong winds will blow anyone who crosses it straight off into the drop. Before she can move on, Rudolph asks if she's truly scared, which makes her feel embarrassed, so she insists she knows no fear and reminds everyone she is the Snake Princess. But Randolph points out she seems surprisingly timid, so she decides the chances of a trap are too high, and since her leg cramped up, she just wants to find a safer way. Hearing this, Randolph sighs that there's no choice but to act, crouching down and telling her to roll onto her back. Isabella feels ashamed to hear his bold words, but Randolph points out that since she said she had a cramp, she should hurry up, because once the sun rises and the dead warriors are found, she'll be blamed for being late and the Queen's team will hunt her down, so instead of wasting time on fear, he should just carry her. Isabella finally climbs onto his back, admitting she'd never do this without her bad leg, so he tells her to hold on tight as he sprints toward the ravine ahead. Isabella looks around, confused that he's walking the wrong way where no path even exists. He still leaps into what looks like an empty gorge. But because of his secret mutant power, he alone can see the hidden path that no one else can. Isabella sees it too, and Randolph agrees that this is the true path they must follow. She is stunned that he knows the way through this deadly poison-filled place, without even breathing hard, which means there's far more going on than just his special title. He turns to her and realizes that the second in command of Fail Summer is afraid of heights, but she just tells him to stop talking. He looks totally chill around her, but this isn't just confidence born of being strong. It was like he was greeting an old friend he hadn't seen in years. This makes her wonder if she has met them before. As they take the final path, he reveals that they have never shared the same moment, meaning he has watched her while she has never seen him. Randolph presses a secret button that whisks them away to a land of green grass. A magical wall covers the whole place, letting only those on the right track see what lies ahead. And if he remembers right, they'll have to fight soon. Just as we thought the rocks were just piles of stone, they suddenly stirred and clawed at flesh-like shapes that each held a massive heart right in their center. This time the Guardians are giant golems, and judging by the huge rune in their chests, they're at least upper tier, so even a single scratch from them would kill him instantly at his current level. He asks Isabella if her leg cramp has improved, but she teases him for talking too much and tells him to stop and just watch. As the golems rush forward, one swinging a punch that cracks the air, Isabella simply smiles and slices the golem's fist into hundreds of tiny pieces, knowing the fight is almost done. She treats the stone chunks like stairs, slicing a golem in half at the waist while her friends strike at the others. Randolph couldn't believe that the girl he raised himself is an assassination expert, which seemed utterly ridiculous since she casually slices up the other golems without even breaking a sweat. Now that it's done, Randolph gets to take the Golem Maker class because the game counts her kill as his own. In Tanzania, summoners are hard to find, which makes the Golem Maker a top-tier class that's truly special. But this isn't the class he really wants, so he turns it down, knowing that the one who could teach it is someone completely different. The green grass behind turns brown and dies as a dark evil falls upon it, while the ancient king who owns this mountain and was hidden by the nameless star gets so angry he rages against them. This was the moment Randolph had been waiting for. The great god who watches over the stars and protects the old kingdom. Randolph feels a heavy weight from the mountain guardian, exactly as the sanctuary's protector should. Isabella worries Randolph dragged her here just so she'd have to face a giant mountain monster, but he tells her to chill and reminds her that even though he looks scary, he's actually very gentle. Just as he says that though, Dramit charges right past him and straight at Isabella, leaving her almost no time to dodge. Branford glances at her, his cheeks turning pink as he clearly feels embarrassed that things didn't go as planned. It's strange though, because he remembers this creature as a helpful guide, yet Isabella can't see anything friendly in it, especially since it speaks to her, telling her she must defeat it to prove she's qualified as the challenger. Isabella tries to convince him it isn't true, but Dramit already knows she has beaten her scent. As he lashes out with his tail, he warns her that she can't leave this place until she proves she's strong enough. Isabella flees and forces the Star-Bearer, Randolph, to tell her what to do, especially since he thought he had already beaten the monster back when he first cleared this place. That's when he realizes the truth about the ancient king, Dramit. He is the mountain guardian who protects the star, a mighty god with a huge body who was once an enchanted beast that grew and learned wisdom from the star's leftover power. He wiped the floor with this spot when he was raising Wilhelm, a 5-star hero who had already reached level 10. When he arrived at the sanctuary with that character, Drummond handed him the star because he was the one who truly deserved it. Simply put, he pounces on anyone weaker than him, but he backs away from those who are stronger. So what happens to him now? Suddenly, Isabella is shoved backward with a hard shove. The poison in the sanctuary keeps her body from moving right. Baby walking into that place hearing those words was a big mistake. Just as DMT was about to knock him out, Randolph yells for him to stop and he does, spinning Isabella in a whirlwind with his tail. He looks at Randolph and asks how he knows his name. He grins and tells me that his master Wilhelm has come back. The drummer locks eyes with the man, repeats his words and then bursts into a booming laugh. He isn't ready to hold the star, and he is far weaker than the Golem Sentinel, making him truly the least of all beings. He needed to listen closely because Wilhelm was a powerful master who deserved such respect. But he failed the quest in the demon realm, dropping all his stars and facing a true end. Even though he's gone, a creature like him has no right to speak his name. Yet as he lunges to swallow Randolph, he demands that Randolph honor their bargain. This forces Drummond to halt and demand to know who told him about the contract. No one must ever find out about it. The contract says that whoever finds the mountain star buried under the star will learn the Guardian's real name and become the mountain's new master. The Mountain Guardian listens to the master and keeps the contract's secret safe, for anyone who tells the story to the wrong person will face an instant deadly curse. He spoke only because he remembered the story, and luckily the game's rules still hold true, so since this is Randolph's body, the curse won't touch him. Drummond wonders what kind of creature he really is. Randolph says if you're so eager to know, go ahead and lead the way, because the star itself will show you what you need to see. Drama warns him that the star holds no mercy for the unworthy, but if he comes close, he will be lit up from the inside out. Randolph agrees it might happen, but he's worried the star will recognize him and show that he is truly its master. Drama would laugh if this weren't so pathetic, because he's just a scrawny kid who looks like he'd crumble at the slightest touch, yet here he stands acting like he could take on the world. So he agreed to take him to the star just as he was at. He isn't sure he's really Wilhelm, but since he knows about the contract, killing him feels wrong, so he'd rather leave it to the star to handle him. They start moving toward the star, and as they get closer the sky turns dark until they reach a scary altar that makes Isabella wonder if they've actually found it. Randolph points out that the skull sitting on the altar is the star. Isabella stares in shock at the star, but Randolph whispers that it's actually Leah's face. When the twin goddess Leah of Pangenia passed away, her body broke into 32 pieces that were scattered all over the land, and each of those pieces is now a star. He believes these things act like beacons, helping players break through to a higher level. Suddenly, a huge pillar of fire erupts around him, and Isabella worries if he is alright. Drummond laughed, knowing that if the star had truly wanted him, it would have burned him the moment he got too close, so even though he felt confident, the star turned him away, and now he is destined to burn to death. Randolph heard it all and couldn't believe this guy, especially since he had already passed Drummond despite the messy bug skip used to get there, so there should be no problem. The real question is whether he can get the class he wants, since he never tried it himself and only found out about it by accident. Suddenly, a voice from far away started listing everything he was, one by one, until it reached the final trait, the one that leads to his doom. With a flash of glowing power, the skull explodes apart and Randolph dives into the energy, turning his mana into star power. He unlocks the Star Pierce main skill and the Star's sub-skill, gains a permanent boost to all his stats, and grows stronger as he collects more and different stars. Even after achieving Transcendence, the star effect remains, marking him as the chosen successor of that class. Isabella's eyes stay wide as she watches everything unfold while Randolph asks her what she wants to do once her curse is gone. She tells us she's ready to pack up her life in the desert and go hunting for the lost Durian family. And Randolph says he will bless her to let her escape the desert, but only if she agrees to one thing first. He wants her to serve him for just 1 year, after which he will set her free and help her find her family. And Isabella is pretending she's just a new boss. Randolph gently pats her shoulder to remind her he isn't the queen and that his words are true. For some reason, Isabella feels drawn to trust him and bows down, promising to serve him. Randolph nods, telling her she made the right choice before turning to Drummond, the star's owner, and confirms that he is indeed the master. Drummond nods in agreement, and Randolph instantly orders him to bow down as well. His special class earns him 230 points for the Hall of Fame, while his lucky stars boost that reward further and his brave streak gets cheered on, updating his prize even more. Before she can even blink, the queen knows Isabella has slipped into the sanctuary with the slave she caught. She commands her men to grab them right now or never return. On that same day at the Angel Cafe in our world, two brothers sit and talk things over with their guildmate, guessing that Randolph might be the mysterious phantom, while they quietly skip the main quest, knowing that the only way to beat Gracia's high score is to know every secret the game has to offer. The blue brother spots the veteran ghost phantom finally showing up and knows it will cause a huge stir, so the red brother races to get in touch before anyone else does. The guildmate wants to know how it happened, since they've been looking for him for years without success. The red brother thinks that since Phantom is finally a real player, they must find a way to enter the secret auction hall that unlocks after the second main quest, even though the blue brother wonders if they should just try fishing instead. The guildmate nods, saying he'll need a mountain of items just to take the top spot in the third big quest. In the hidden auction hall, you can cast a line to trade away your treasures. Someone sells a great item cheap, then uses a special power of a talisman to find the buyer and strike them where they stand. Inexperienced players who spot a shiny item for a steal and buy it often end up being tracked, looted and killed before they even know what hit them. The red brother wonders if that trick would fool Phantom, who likely knows every single talisman in the game if he is truly who they say he is. The guildmate thinks he might just get tricked by it. In the end he failed, yet he still launched the great expedition with a boldness that no one else has, ready to snap up anything cheap he sees at an auction or crush anyone who dares to challenge him. They decided to team up and invite him to join their guild, but the brothers are already calling the police to report him as a future stalker. Someone looks at the second quest ranking and sees that Randolph is now first, which means his right to the Massacre quest has been taken away since he dropped out. Massacre wonders which class can dump so many points into their pool. It doesn't matter if he skips the secret auction house for now, because as long as he keeps taking out top fighters while riding Dummit, he will just rise straight back up. Randolph breezes through the Sanctuary quest like he's never seen anything like it before. Though he earns the title of the first one to conquer a sanctuary, he gets a powerful book that lets him warp back to any place he's been to, but it takes 30 seconds to cast and he can only use it once every day. Riding the snake turns out to be surprisingly comfortable, letting him slip free from the sanctuary and finish his search all at once. He gathers enough experience to finally climb to level 3. He moves slower than regular heroes because he needs 10 times the experience to match his many talents, but those extra years make his stats grow so much that he has no room to complain. Anyway, that doesn't matter right now because the reward from the main quest is way more interesting. He actually found 2 super rare things. One of these items is a shadow cloak that makes the wearer invisible, a handy portable stealth trick, so Doctor sharpens his senses when he feels movement ahead and spots the intruders breaking into the sanctuary. Isabella thinks they are being chased by the Queen's hunters, and Randolph agrees, confessing that they did stay in the sanctuary for a while. Isabella asked what he planned to do, noting that while the Queen herself wouldn't bother to show up, she'd still send a huge squad. Even with the Mountain Guardian watching over them, they doubt they can take on all those enemies. Randolph puts on his cloak, realizes that Dramit is the Guardian, and wonders why they'd ever fight. In the background, Isabella finally understands that Randolph is leaving Dramit to get back to work, even though he's a little sweaty. Hearing the screams of their pursuers behind them, Isabella wonders if it's safe to just run. Randolph figures that since the Queen isn't here, everything will be okay, because the whole pursuit squad couldn't have shown up all at once, so it's probably just the advance team. They get stuck until the main group arrives and surrounds the sanctuary. They'll be trapped, so since those guys are chasing them anyway, it's best to leave now. Isabella thought he was abandoning Doot because he was useless, but Randolph realized the Mountain Guardian couldn't leave the sanctuary anyway, so they were the only ones who could run. To leave, they must use the warp gate at the desert's edge, but since he lifted Isabella's curse with the star's blessing, opening it will be no trouble at all. The real trouble is that the gate takes a moment to wake up. As Isabella gazes at the gate, she realizes that crossing it means true freedom is finally within their reach. Randolph agrees that once they leave this dry wasteland behind, they'll finally be out of this hell. But the gate won't open for a while, it'll take about half a day to get going. Since there's nowhere to hide in this desert, the best hope is that the whole pursuit squad rushes into the sanctuary, but since Drummond is slowing them down and they haven't realized they've left the sanctuary yet, they have a little time to spare. While he must keep in touch with the star at this crucial spot, he can't stay logged in forever because he needs to check on the real world to see what's going on. He asks Isabella if he can trust her, and when he does, she draws her blades to promise that she will guard him. Randolph clicks off the game and wakes up in his bed. He still isn't used to the strange, slimy feeling that hits him every time he jumps from one body to the next. He grabs his phone and finds no news or warnings, showing the monsters haven't shown up again yet. Reality and Pangenia are slowly blending together, but he still has much to learn. More monsters will rise soon, but he worries most about the players in the real world, so he must keep stepping back there to learn more. Suddenly, his ex, Kim Seo-in, calls him right inside the very cafe where they broke up. She's on the phone with someone who says he already bought her food and clothes, but she's upset because he flirted with her, claimed to be rich, and now he's acting like a cheap jerk. He wants to meet face to face, but since she has no reason to, and is already seeing a friend, she ends the call. Even if Mong was pathetic, he did at least listen to her. She really should have stayed with him longer instead of breaking it off, even though he is to blame for having no money. Suddenly he showed up, and Seo was shocked to see him arrive so early. Mong asks why she called him so urgently, and she suggests they take their time to talk it over so he should sit down. Maybe it's because some time has passed, but Mong's whole attitude shifted, and he just told her to speak up quickly before he had to go. She notices that some things will never change. He's always there instantly when she calls, and that's the one thing she's loved about him since day one. Once they split up, she suddenly saw how great he really was and couldn't stop thinking about it, wishing she had never let him go. But what about him? Does he feel the same way? Ignores her completely, focused only on grabbing what he needs to sit, a simple thing she can't even do. He stands up and realizes that once she finishes, he's heading out. Seo-in screams at him, asking if he really heard that she missed him, wondering if it's because of what she said when they broke up. Yiming only wants to know one thing: does her new boyfriend even know she's meeting him right now? If she's gonna flirt with more than one guy, she should probably delete all her social media photos, not just the one on her profile. A bad influence, she really needs to make a bigger effort. If this were the past, he would have panicked and not known what to say, yet he feels strangely calm, wondering if Randolph's growth is finally touching his own true self. Tenderly, he hears a loud disturbance in the streets where someone is bothering another person who is trying to speak with her. The man gripping the cutter asks why everyone has paused to watch, wondering if they are enjoying the spectacle, while the woman shouts for him to let her go and calls him a crazy bastard. After years of everyone looking down on him, the man made a final desperate choice to end his own life. Just as the knife is about to fall on her, Myung steps in to save the girl, and the man, realizing he's won, demands to be released. Myung holds on so tight his hand is about to break. Even without the piece of golden scale, he knows for sure his body is changing because he could easily crush this guy. He sweeps the heavy man out of the way and rushes to the woman to see if she is alright. She nods to agree and says she only lived because of him, admitting she has no words to thank him enough. Myung steps closer and sees that the woman standing before him is the same one he once saved. The woman asks if there's something on her face, but Myung shakes his head and says she just looks like someone he once knew. Suddenly, the fat guy lunges at him from behind with a knife, but Myung sidesteps, grabs his head, and kicks him straight into the dirt. The woman felt so impressed that she no longer needed to be afraid. Once the cops arrive to take the crazy overweight guy away, the officer tells Myung he has to come along to the station too. The woman insists the man was only trying to help, even though she reported him as a stalker, but the police say his actions were still violent, so he has to go with them. The woman insists the brute had a real knife, but Myung cuts her off, saying he has no time to play around. The cops get it, but they can't break the rules either. Suddenly, the woman asks if he wants to be a witness and gets him dragged into something, and then they wonder if they will have to take responsibility. Kim Hana, a reporter for CK, warns the cops that harassing an innocent man could make this case explode, so they finally agree and let only her accompany them to speak with the real victim. Anna thanked Myung again and handed him her card. She is a reporter who covers the Dimension Warriors, the heroes who showed up on the same day as the monsters to defeat them, and that is how people started calling them. Myung thinks she's talking about players, but almost no one brings up Panginia directly, so he decides that an attack from another dimension sounds much more believable than a video game suddenly coming to life. Just as Hana reaches for his business card, Seo Yan rushes in to grab his hand, joking that she might be his girlfriend before admitting he has no card but offering his phone number instead. She remarks on his lovely name, asks him to text her tomorrow so she can treat him to something, and Myung is sure he won't turn her down. Seo Yan stood there, completely beaten and broken. She can't believe he would hurt her, especially since he was just a nobody loser she felt sorry for. As Hana walks away, her phone rings with a call from someone claiming to be the ultimate boss of the broadcast station. She insists he stop calling her that, but he explains that the deputy director left her with this assignment while away on a business trip. Hannah stares in shock, wondering how someone everyone worships as a hero who saved America could just be sitting there for an interview. The assistant has no real idea. The superhero herself said she wants to meet you specifically and is coming to Korea right now. Amidst a desert strewn with hundreds of fallen bodies, Isabella gasps for air, her lungs burning from all the fighting. One soldier tells her the queen ordered her to go back, promising that if she just gives up the slave behind her, they can pretend this never happened. Isabella grips her blade tighter as the soldiers charge at her, knowing she can't hold them off for much longer. Suddenly the warp point springs to life, making the first ride back to the start completely free. Randolph grabs Isabella and sees that she holds on tight. She asks if he is done talking to those starstruck fans, and he nods to say yes. The Bashta captain shouts for them to stop loitering and put the traitors down immediately. Randolph holds his hand out to show he honors her word, promising to keep his own. He slams his fist down with the Star Pierce skill, burning every drop of star power to strike with such blinding force that no one can possibly stand against it. Isabella gasps when she suddenly realizes just how powerful a Star Bearer really is. Randolph says it's never too late for her to come back, and he'll let her go if that's what she wants. Himana Boao shakes her head with a bright smile, declaring she isn't leaving his side. With this, the spell breaks and they warp to the central continent, the golden city of Arcana. This is a city where chasing things has become the only rule. Without enough gold to match a high noble, the lower districts are too dangerous to enter. Isabella sighs at the fancy display, but Randolph reminds her that this is the golden city where money solves everything, so their first job is to find some cash. Isabella tells him not to worry about gold, because she already brought 30 coins with her. Randolph points out that what we have is far from enough. That should be enough to keep you warm for one night. She is stunned to learn that in the desert, 300 gold coins can buy 10 slaves, making them 10 times more expensive than a cleric. Randolph laughs as he points out how the prices here are totally different from the ones in the Kultzman Desert. But she shouldn't worry, because money is scattered everywhere. She asks what he means. Randolph points to a casino, and she stares in awe. She needn't fret about their odds, for he is blessed with a lucky trait that shines like gold. In the golden city of Arcana, also called the City of Pleasures, every smaller town in Panginia rules itself as its own independent kingdom. And here, in this city of pleasure, the only rule that matters is that money rules everything. All the city's riches flow into the Hudson Casino, the most famous and wealthy casino on the entire. The guard blocks Randolph and Isabella at the casino door, saying that no one can get in without putting down 10,000. Isabella whispers in surprise to Randolph, wondering why he didn't tell her about the money deposit since she's only got 100 gold left after washing up and buying clothes. But Randolph says it doesn't matter because they never had enough money to start with and the clothes were necessary. The guard warns them that without the deposit, they must go now because they're blocking the line of other customers waiting their turn. Randolph explains that he has no deposit money, but offers to leave this item as a guarantee instead. That should be plenty, for this tear from the Fairy Queen lets any gear break its limits, and even if the item shatters, the tear remains behind. Right away, the guard treats both of them like VIPs. As they step inside, Randolph tells Isabella that the item is basically a talisman when she asks what it was. He received this prize for visiting the sanctuary, and it's worth at least 1,000,000 gold. Isabella wonders if it's safe to leave the item with them, but Randolph reassures her that once he wins some money, he'll buy it back, and then some, because he's not there just to gamble. Randolph steps up to the roulette table so confidently that the dealer thinks he must be a gambling god who has come down from heaven. He began with just 1,000 gold coins, and somehow, he already climbed past 1,000,000. Randolph knew he'd need that gold blessing, because when cash is at stake, nothing matters more than having the right trait. Isabella points out that they are finally rich, even though Randolph still insists the money is his. The dealer looks thoroughly beaten and admits he'll keep his winnings, but now he's banned from the Hudson Casino forever. Randolph was shocked by how quickly it happened, but the dealer explained that anyone who copies his bets ends up winning all the chips. They're telling him to get out because things are getting out of hand, and if he refuses, they might just drag him out. Isabella watches the guards who surround her with hungry eyes, ready for blood. But Randolph signals her to wait, noting he won't leave until he talks to the owner of the place. The dealer shakes his head and says there's no way for it to happen, so he tells you to slip out quietly without making a scene. Randolph realizes he's got it wrong because it wasn't him asking for a meeting, but his boss using a powerful observation technique to prove the tear is real and wondering how it got into their hands. Fairy Queen's special tear is guarded only by her mighty knights, who rarely leave their home, and each knight is so strong that it takes at least 10 level heroes to kill one, making them nearly impossible to get. They looked everywhere, but no one believed anyone would just walk right into their casino without a reason. The butler visits Hudson's office to say the man who left the talisman wants to meet, and Hudson, surprised but pleased, smiles and asks for the dealer to bring him here with some tea. After a few more minutes, Randolph finally sat down across from him, with Isabella right beside him. Hudson stared at the man standing right in front of him, completely shocked by what he saw. He doesn't look like much of a fighter at all. Hudson mentions that he was told someone wanted to talk to him and asks if the other person would like to share more about that. Randolph took the teacup and said there was no secret message behind it. Since he wanted to meet the man anyway, he asked them not to bother sending that note. Hudson quickly realizes he needs that talisman he left as a deposit and steadies himself, admitting he always hunts for rare ones, which is exactly why he was just about to call and ask for a price. Randolph takes a sip and admits that as long as the price is right, he has no reason to say no. Hudson feels proud that he's so bold to drop the price at 2,000,000 gold, thinking it's a generous move. Isabella gasps at the offer, but Randolph calmly sets down his cup and asks for 20,000,000 gold. Hudson claims that 20,000,000 is enough to buy any mansion in Arcana's heart, yet he insists a talisman is only for reforging weapons, and we're left wondering if he really thinks it's worth that much. Randolph says he'd never pay that, but he knows he expects it. Hudson admits that even he can't afford to spend that much on just a hobby. Randolph agrees that the price makes no sense for a simple hobby, yet this Fairy Queen's tear is no mere trinket, but the very key he needs to join the city council. He goes on to say that you need to reach level 10 to join the council, but since you must break through on your own strength, it's impossible for him because he has no combat class. So he needs the Fairy Queen's tear, a special item that lets him swap out his basic gear for powerful high-tier armor to make up for his weak fighting skills. Since a casino owner wants to join the city council, it must be to gain the respect of his fiancée Serengeti's family, isn't it? Hudson shuts his eyes tight against Randolph's, who still looks just as serious. Serengeti is the sole daughter of Mark, known as the Pure White Knight. She led 500 of her fellow riders on the great expedition into the demon world alongside him. She gave up her legs to the Demon King to save his life, becoming the one NPC he could truly trust. Back then, she treated her actions like just another dramatic scene to make the story more exciting, since before he arrived, Pangania was nothing but a game. But after Wilhelm died and he woke up here to feel what he felt, he finally understood that the game characters might actually be real players, and Serengeti's old words suddenly returned to his mind. She had said that if she didn't come back from this journey, he should carry this necklace, which held a piece of her lover for her. He felt puzzled by the description because he knew Serengeti would never have a fiancé. Someone changed the preset character settings, and he accepted it so easily because Hudson is just like him, a player who has fully blended into this world, and now he realizes he never told anyone about this, so how does he know? Randolph suspects he has been here far longer than the other player, so he needs to squeeze every bit of info out of him about the world and its other inhabitants. He says he didn't know the answer, but the stars seem to tell it to him. Hudson wonders if he is really a star-bearer, but Randolph refuses to just take his word for it and instead offers to give him anything he wants, since he doesn't need Hudson's money, only one simple thing in return. The stars are waiting to listen to his life story before they will choose to help him. But everything must be true, because the stars hate liars. Hudson's hand shakes on his knee at the news, and Randolph knows it's a tough call, since a star-bearer is rare among regulars, and sharing secrets could lead to hunters. The hunters are special enemies that hunt players, calling them criminals and killing them on the spot, so players have died so many times that the only way to survive is to suspect everyone. In Pangenia, sharing your real name is like a death sentence, so everyone hides who they are, making it impossible to tell them apart and ensuring he will never reveal himself either. Even so, he knows Hudson will take the offer, because in his eyes, Serengeti isn't just a mindless follower. She is not just that, she is the only love he has ever known. He nods and promises to tell the tale of his life. But before anything else, he has to start with Serengeti, since most of what he wants to achieve is connected to her. Serengeti, a daring knight, joined the heroes on their daring quest to the demon world. Randolph is so puzzled he asks what this has to do with the 8 heroes, pointing out that while Wilhelm led the way, the famous journey into the demon world was a team effort with all 8 of them. And it turns out they started fighting with each other, and that's why the whole trip fell apart, according to the tales. Randolph shakes his head at the silly idea and asks if anyone knows who these 8 heroes are. Martin is even more surprised that he doesn't know them, since they are all legendary figures. Among them, one stands as the mightiest warrior after Wilhelm Grenia. He looks like he's reading a story about how Kim Hana was saved. His assistant added that she has booked the interview with the Korean reporter he talked about. The assistant also wonders if he really needs to go to Korea himself, since the government wants him to stay safe in the US from any surprise attacks, and they could easily bring her here instead. Rancha says no, but he can't stay away because he has a strong feeling that this man might be the long-lost friend he's been hunting for. In the real world, Mong stares at his piece of steak as if it's the last meal he'll ever get. Anna wonders if it doesn't suit his taste, but he says no, he's just tired from something that happened yesterday. He told Hudson to share his story, and Hudson stayed up all night weeping and talking endlessly before finally revealing what he knew about the group called the 8 Heroes, even though he was still logged in yesterday. He asks Hana if this place is too pricey, wondering if it's really okay for him to eat for free. Hana sees that he managed to get rid of her stalker, but that still isn't enough. Unward thinks anyone would have done it, but she knows only a brave soul like him could really have pulled it off. She leans over him and spots the woman in the back, wondering if that's the same one who was with him back then. She keeps glancing over their way, wondering if Mong thinks she's just making things up because the guy she's with looks like the man from her social media that Mong mentioned before. Was his real name actually Young Jin Woo, or was it something else entirely? Anna notices that if he feels uncomfortable, they can just switch to a different table. But Mong says it's all good, so she doesn't need to worry about her since they aren't that close. Just as he is about to take another bite, Jin Woo steps up and asks if he really followed Seo Yan all the way here. He didn't just keep bothering her after they broke up. Now he's taken things a step too far by following her around. Lun looks him in the eye and questions if he truly means it, but the answer seems to be yes. He remembered the last time he held on to Sean, crying and begging to pull her away from the cafe. Mong isn't convinced it happened exactly like that. As he stares at Seo Yan's smug smile, he realizes that Jin Woo trusted a woman's words, which was a rookie mistake. He warns Mong that if he follows her one more time, she will kill him for being such a worthless piece of trash. Hana smashes the table in frustration as the absurdity of the drill grows, while Jin Woo can't help but wonder if this woman is just a rented girlfriend. Hana steps forward, but he keeps talking, guessing she must be getting $500,000 just for looking the way she does, and offering to pay her double if she'll just shut up, only for her to snap back that she made the reservation to treat him for helping her, not because it's any of his business. In response, Jin Woo pulls out a thick stack of cash and wonders if it's not enough, questioning why she would need to pick up so much money herself or head somewhere else. Aino slaps him hard and yells that he's a bastard. Jin Woo is furious now and points out that she was the one who struck him first. True equality means we all have to fight just as hard for what we deserve. But just as he's about to strike her, Mong trips him and points out that he doesn't look innocent either. Jin Woo whirls around in a rage, but Mong slams him down to the ground. Seo Yan yells at Jin Woo for making her look bad, but Mong tells them to step outside so he doesn't have to get beaten up in front of everyone. Jin Woo's pride gets the better of him when he can't let a nobody beat him up in front of his woman. He fires a golden shard that blinds Mong for a moment just as Jin Woo changes into his game avatar. Right away, he slams Mong down to the ground. He never thought he'd be a player, yet here he acts like nothing happened. He clearly saw him transform, so what happened next? Did he lower him down gently? The secret power of the great sage wakes up, and Jinwoo realizes he let his guard down for just a second, thinking he was invincible. Mong looks at his spear and sees that he is a level 4 warrior. Panginia has 10 levels, and climbing from one to the next always feels like a big jump because you need a lot of experience to make it happen. The more talents a character has, the stronger they get, but it will take longer to level them up. Of course, Jinwoo is on the team with the least talent, but his low level is simple. He has never fought, not even once. Jinwoo, a total beginner gamer, had been running away without stopping from the very first moment he synced with Panginia until this day. After a few lucky breaks, he made it through the main quest, and then, with another stroke of luck, he unlocked a powerful high-tier class. Because he placed so high, he was allowed to log out and leave Panginia forever. He knew without looking that not everyone could have been born with his special gifts, so he couldn't blame anyone for running away, even though they were still too weak to stand their ground. He raises his hand with all his might and insists they move right away, since everyone is staring right at them. Just before they part, Jinwoo warns him to be grateful for his life, but also to know that if he ever touches that woman again, he will pay the full price for his mistake. Mong is shocked at his own foolishness, acting like a fool to random people and wasting his powerful golden scale, but luckily he won't stay like this for long. Kana gets down to Mong's level and insists they report it right away, but since Mong feels they started the fight too, he says they should just finish their food instead, because the moment he speaks those words, the ground starts to shake. Sure enough, a horde of monsters bursts into the restaurant, ready to tear everything apart. Hana wants to run, but Mong holds her back because the monsters aren't attacking anyone yet. Mong feels lucky to be among the people here. Only a few of those scavenger cheaters turned up, and as long as they don't strike first, that thing won't show up. Jinwoo, who is trying to look cool for his goofy girlfriend, pulls out a spear and gets ready to take down a worm. Mong yells for him to stop, but it's already too late as he rips the worm out in one quick strike. This makes the fool believe he's tougher than he really is.
So he started pulling out worm after worm, laughing because he'd been right to worry, and it felt like an absolute breeze.
Mong tells Hana to run as fast as she can away from that bad guy. Just as Jinwoo can barely see through the thick fog filling the restaurant, dark hands reach out from behind and cover his eyes. The creature demanded to know who killed its children. This is the Cheat Mamba, a fearsome beast that demands the combined strength of 20 level 6 heroes to face. The dark Mamba slithers into Jinwoo's mind, whispering that he must kill everyone here. Suddenly a stranger starts coughing so hard his lungs can't handle the dust, but when he looks up, he sees Jinwoo pointing a spear right at him. Jinwoo. The man looks like a monster because of the Chuorm's blood. A spear plunges into the confused man, sending blood flying everywhere except from him, because Jinwoo has already severed both his arms, leaving him wailing on the ground while Mong admits he didn't want to start this, but they crossed the line. Now acting as Randolph, he commands the Mamba to come out, promising he won't ask a second time. The Mamba answers the call, slowly stepping out of a pile of cheats while laughing and letting out a wild roar as it fully appears. The beast claims he isn't evil, but staring at all the humans here, he thinks I look like the tastiest treat. Hana shouts Mayong's name through the thick mist, trying to find out where he is. But the air is so thick and foggy that she can't see anything at all. Mayong keeps fighting the Mamba, hoping the fog will let him change, but he quickly realizes that just because he did it doesn't mean he can win. If he hadn't figured out how to fight it, he would have been nothing but a pile of meat from the very first moment. The Mamba feels something is off because this guy looks weak but keeps slipping past every attack. He moves with the confidence of someone who already knows where the attack will come from, rushing forward with a blade drawn only to find his desperate struggle utterly hopeless against the Mamba. He leaps high into the air while a bunch of cheats suddenly appear. Realizing the next attack will spray blood, he grabs a table to block it because getting hit would hurt him. Once the attack ends, a tentacle smashes the table, and he barely has time to dodge. As he pants from being worn out, the Mamba admits he didn't think he'd be able to dodge that. He can dodge attacks with amazing skill, but if his strikes never land, what good is his evading? Mong tells him not to worry, because he'll be driving right through the middle of his forehead soon. He put on Hermes' shoes and the Fairy Queen's tear, letting him wear them without losing much power. He also outfits Michaela in her armor and helmet, giving her a nearly complete suit that is almost fully powered up. He's glad he grabbed this at the secret auction and tells Hudson he has no choice but to use the Fairy Queen's tear now. Hermes' magical shoes grant him incredible speed and agility, letting him dash across the world faster than light to reach the Mamba. He lashes out with a tentacle at Mong, but Mong dodges and rushes forward again as if he'd never been hit. He dashes so quickly that he lands right behind the Mamba, forcing the monster to unleash a hail of sharp, high-speed projectiles from its body. Even then, Mong wipes them all away, his eyes locked only on the fight. The Mamba grabs him with a tentacle and smashes him so hard he gets launched flying, but thanks to the option Michaela mentioned, he grows a pair of wings and stops falling. The Mamba gets fed up with having so many choices and blasts a stream of dark blood to clear the air. There was no way he could ever get hit. Mong knows this move is his last chance. If he can keep going through this, he'll win. He dives through the sky at top speed. But the flood of blood eventually overtakes him, swallowing him whole. Suddenly, a stream of blood shoots out, but the celestial dragon's speed and Myong's sudden wind rush send it flying backward in a swirl. The Cheat Mamba fights with 4 special tricks: dodging, splashing blood, shooting needles, and bleeding poison, but once it uses all 4, it freezes for just a second. The beast freezes up from the blow, but once the shaking stops, the next round starts with its moves getting even sharper. Myong charges forward, worn out but certain this is his only shot at victory. And even as the Mamba shouts for him to hold his ground, the man forgets everything and drives his blade straight into his own head, ending the beast's life in that split second. Now that the Cheat Mamba is gone, Myong takes over with full power. For now the darkness fades, and he grabs his lucky dice. Hannah glances around, convinced the ordeal is done, but she's left baffled by just how the fight could possibly be over. And right then, her gaze landed on the man who had done all of this. Even with his armor and new white cloak, she instantly knows it's the man from back then. She steps into the spotlight and asks if he still remembers her. Mong checks on her, glad she's safe, then uses his cloak to vanish right before her eyes, leaving Hana watching the monster fade into shadow and realizing he's truly gone. Just a few moments later, Myong popped up behind her, relieved that he'd finally found her after getting lost in the chaos. He checks to see if she is hurt, and she tells him that she is just fine. Just as Mong is relieved to see her safe, she notices blood on his hand. She points to it and asks if he's been hurt. Wing quickly makes an excuse, claiming that monster blood splashed on him and that he simply didn't notice the change. Hana seemed a little suspicious because his clothes were clean, yet only his hands were covered in blood, which felt very strange. When the very first monsters showed up, he didn't even flinch, and maybe he knew exactly what they were. After a quiet pause, Mong plays it cool by claiming the chaos of the moment made him blurt out whatever crossed his mind. Hana instantly calls him a liar because he looks so calm and has the straightest face ever, but Mong tells her he was scared just as much as she was. Hana feels that he is acting very suspicious, pretending everything is fine just after the man who saved her vanished, making her wonder if he might actually be that same person. The next day, a group of Dimension warriors gathered in a secret spot to watch a huge and important broadcast. Not long after the first Dimension War ended, another one broke out, and some warriors warned that more attacks were coming, so they said we would have to keep working closely with the government for a long time. While everyone stayed inside because they were scared, the streets turned into ghost towns. In response, these citizens rallied to their faction, claiming that the government's careless dismissal of the tragedy and its attempt to shrink the damage's true scale likely created a wave of new victims from the Second Dimension War. One player says they were carefree during the first invasion, but now they're just making a fuss. Someone else mentioned that back then, those who weren't directly hit likely couldn't feel it since a monster attack is just something completely beyond what anyone would expect. One woman said it was too strange for ordinary people to understand, so the government probably just pretended everything was normal at first because no one knew how to react. The Park 2 warned that this attack proved the invaders could strike again and again. Now is the perfect moment for them to announce their alliance officially. The other alliances are likely worried they'll lose out if they don't rush to grab top talent, especially since the woman beside him has already seen the evidence proving it's happening right now. It's grainy CCTV footage, but if he really killed the Chi Mamba all by himself, then this guy is likely Randolph, the man who took first place in the new main quest. Someone points out that since Randolph just finished the second main quest, he should only be level 4 or 5, so how did he manage to get the Hermes' shoes? Manhwa is pretty sure he's using a magical charm, and no matter what the details are, he's definitely someone they need. Once the Phantom vanished, this man showed up, and though we can't be certain, it's possible that Randolph was the Phantom all along. No matter what, they can't trust the other alliances and must bring him over to stop the rift from coming. In the game world, Randolph casually tells Hudson that he actually used the Fairy Queen's tear. As Hudson screams right in his face, he shouts, "Why did he do that? Wasn't he supposed to give it to him?" Randolph promised to lend a hand, but he never agreed to actually hand over the tear. He didn't need a magical charm to succeed, so he threw it away to stop himself from holding on to a useless hope. He won't admit he used it because he needs to defeat the Chi Mamba and doesn't want anyone to find out. How is if there's another way, and Randolph tells him to stop being so suspicious. He should just follow him, because he'll soon have a good reason to trust him. With that, they all head down into the dark underground sewers. Hudson is confused by the stinky sewers, but Randolph tells him they must pass through to wash away his doubts and reach the special spot in Arcana where Hudson can finally make his wish come true. The teleportation book Dramud gave him is handy, yet it's a pain because he has to boost his exploration rate every single time. He dreams of exploring every corner of Arcana, but since time is tight, he settles for just the sewer dungeons. Marcus tells him to wait, wondering if 3 people are really brave enough to face the dangerous sewer dungeons all alone. The giant rat guarding this place is a boss monster that demands a team of 6 level 8 heroes to take it down. As promised, the rat shows up, and Randolph turns to see that it is indeed the mutant monster rat, a scary raid boss that attacks non-stop as a streak of green light. Hudson is terrified because the fast monster rat attacks with speed, and while the usual plan is to trap it with a 6-person team, they arrived here completely unprepared. Who is this guy thinking that he can get away with doing such a dangerous thing? Randolph stays perfectly still, calling out to Isabella to head to the 10th hour. She darts in to attack the rat, who looks confused as he gets hit over and over. Randolph believes that if you know the pattern, the speed doesn't matter at all. That's possible because Isabella has fought so hard she's now on a whole different level than normal characters. As Hudson watches, Randolph calls out to him and promises to keep his word no matter what, telling him never to doubt him. And if he says it's possible, then it will happen. Later that day, someone went to another Hero Alliance member and said they checked all the nearby CCTV footage but found no trace, and it seemed everyone inside the building at the time also had no idea what happened. Joing is growing more and more irritated, feeling like he's stuck in a spooky ghost story. His subordinate asks if they should meet Jin-woo again, but he quickly shakes his head and says no, because he looks like he's lost his mind. He went mad from the horror of losing both his arms, so trying again would just waste everyone's time. The subordinate then started wondering if Kim Hana seemed to know something, and when Jining asked if they should just rush into her broadcasting station to catch her, the subordinate shook his head and suggested they just wait for her outside instead. Jang warns him to stay away from her, because if he messes with her it will turn into a massive headache. The subordinate worries if there's support behind her, so Jang explains that Gracia is shielding Kim Hana and causing a huge stir among players, even to the point of a direct interview. Sure enough, they finally meet Gracia and introduce themselves, with Hana noting it is an honor to finally meet him. But the subordinate isn't sure if he fell for her instantly or just stumbled into it, but Jang is clueless, and they both agree there's no reason to poke the beehive. He believes Gracia has become the ultimate monster with her phantom gun, and it's clear she traveled all the way to Korea just to face an ordinary reporter, sparking his own curiosity while reminding everyone that if she's involved, the only smart thing to do is stay far away. If they even annoy him, the whole alliance could crumble. Over in another place, Massacre is battling several players, scolding one of them who is still alive and asking what he thinks he's doing, since player killing is strictly forbidden in the real world. Massacre questions who decided this, and the player explains that Gracia said to prepare for the invasion, warning that fighting players is forbidden in the real world and that Gracia would be in big trouble if he found out. Anger Massacre roughly yanks his head and orders him to beg his savior for help right now, but he can't. After settling things with him, the rankings were updated. He claimed his spot among the top-class masters, and the secret auction house was once again his to use. Stripping off his worn battle gear, he is convinced that Randolph is the phantom bastard, for no one else could explain the terrifying score the man has built up. If it's him, he'll jump right into the main quest without a second thought, because if he stays put, he'll meet him soon and kill him with his own bare hands. Randolph rides his high dragon through the desert, and the beast looks totally different from before. Randolph feels like he got lucky. He only wanted to mark a spot in the sewer dungeon, but a quick rat dropped its core into his hands, a key item that can make beast souls much stronger. With that, he used it to make the high dragon grow stronger. He turns to Hudson, who's riding along, to ask if he handled the casino as planned, and Hudson nods, confirming that everything was done just as they were told. It's true the casino is ashamed to leave, but if they have to go far away for so long, they can't help it, and even marrying Serengeti isn't worth missing it for. Besides, since nobody would leave the casino without him, he decided to just trust and follow along. Hudson also thinks it's really impressive that Isabella hunted down the monster. She acts like she can see right through everything, and that's all thanks to Randolph. He's a one-in-a-lifetime kind of guy, and if he lets this moment slip away, he just might never get a shot like this again. Randolph feels a wave of relief knowing he no longer has to fret over money. He feels confident in his choice, and is now ready to focus entirely on reaching level 10 and walking the path of the Starbearer. Hudson also wonders where they are going now since he doesn't remember ever saying. Randolph points out that this is the legendary masterpiece that will grant his wish, the very Tower of Spirits where the main quest begins. They head toward that spot, but it just looks like a random forest, which Hudson points out as he goes. Randolph warns him that this isn't just any ordinary forest. This is the gate to the Tower of Spirits, a huge sea of rocks where the Great Spirit Tree stands. He believes a spirit tree is where spirits are born, and since this special birth makes the tree a gateway to the spirit realm at dusk, stepping through it is the only way to reach the Tower of Spirits. But the tree right in front of him has been dead for a long time. It's not just this tree that's fading away, but the whole forest is dying, and so long has it been since a new spirit was born there. He's about to do something terrible, but they have no other choice. Hudson asks what he's doing, but Randolph suddenly rushes in and chops the tree right in half. It crashed down to the floor with a rough thud. Hudson doubts its right to chop down the tree, feeling it should be sacred. But right as he speaks, a blow strikes him like lightning, threatening to end his life. Even though Isabella covers for him, her hand bleeds a lot from it. The man who fired that blast didn't think she'd actually block it. Among all the humans, she is truly extraordinary, for she is the mighty Dryad, who rules Bass Rock Forest and wields the power of a level 9 champion. The Dryad realizes he mistook them for lost wanderers, and felt sorry enough to let them pass. They boldly fell the sacred spirit tree, showing that people have forgotten to be afraid of the mysterious things beyond their understanding. A ring of level 7 forest guardians, the Dryads, stands around them. Isabella counts at least 50 of them and realizes that if they all charge at once, they have no choice but to fight. If everything goes wrong, her only job is to get the Starbearer away safely. Randolph strolls calmly toward them, reminding them not to throw their anger at the wrong person since he's the one who chopped down the tree. If he didn't do this, he never would have appeared until the very end, and while the tall Dryad thinks he's crazy, Randolph tells her to calm down so he can have a chat. Hyad refuses and readies another arrow for Randolph, whose own hand starts to shake when Randolph asks if he will just watch the forest die. Randolph promises to bring this dying forest back to life. He knows that without a new spirit to bring the forest back to life, the whole place will die. The Great Dryad calls his claim a lie, because even if they open the gate, the Spirit Tower is a sacred place only the chosen may enter, so how could a nobody like him ever hope to walk inside? Randolph is sure the Tower of Spirits is impossible to enter because you need special talent and to finish endless quests. After waiting for a perfect storm of lucky breaks to finally happen, one can barely enter this place, where almost no gamers have made it, especially since Randolph is far too weak to even dream of doing so. Since Randolph isn't just an ordinary person but has a special bond with nature, he insists on taking charge of the forest and demands that the gate be opened right now. When he spoke, the other Dryads thought he was lying and screamed that they would kill and shoot him no matter what. But the tall Dryad finally stops them and lands right there. He tells Randolph to keep his promise, and Randolph just says not to worry because he always does, promising to bring a spirit back to the forest. The High Dryad doesn't truly believe he'll make it work, so he's just ready to kill him if he fails. With that, he gives the order to move on, since he has absolutely no patience for being late. They are led to another open clearing where a pile of rocks has been stacked up. The tall Dryad says that since the forest is dying, the only way to open the tower's gate is to use the body of this stone spirit. He must not forget that failure means he will instantly become food for the forest, but when Randolph wonders what happens if he wins, the Great Dryad promises a reward to match that success. Randolph gets to bring the spirit back to the forest, to earn a Dryad friend and the forest's thanks if he succeeds. With that, the tall Dryad opens the portal, instantly flooding the forest with holy light before everyone steps right in. Hudson stares in awe at the strange sights around him and asks Randolph if they've finally reached the Tower of Spirits. Randolph says it's not true, but this is definitely the hidden doorway meant to lead into the tower. To get into the tower, they must first get the okay from that thing. Hudson thinks it's adorable, so the spirit spots Randolph's druid energy, grants him permission to climb the tower, and rushes over to him right away. Randolph smiles and nods that the men behind him are true friends he can trust with his life, and the spirit says, but each one has to climb the tower alone. As they all start to vanish, Isabella knows she'll be right back, but Hudson screams in panic, wondering why his own body is fading away. The spirit tells them not to worry, reminding them that time and reality inside the tower flow differently, so they must climb with all their heart. He wishes them good luck on this. Randolph is granted the third main quest to climb